live from North Ipswich Reserve. We're with you for a fantastic round 10 clash between the Central Queensland Capras and the Luxury Paints Ipswich Jets. Great to have you with us on Phoenix Radio, phoenix.com.au. Smith somehow right down the eastern touchline, 12-4 the score with the first attacking opportunity the Capras had.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of After the 80. I'm your host Ben Wilmott, and tonight I'm joined by my co-host Anthony Bomber Breeze. How are you doing today, Bomber?
Oh, not too good, but I'm sure we'll get into that later.
I'm sure we will, Bomber. Don't worry about that. Also joining us on the panel today, we have the Ipswich Jets Colts coach, Adam Boettcher. Thanks for joining us, Adam.
No worries, Ben.
And on my left here, we have the Ipswich Diggers head coach and Ipswich State High School Rugby League head coach, Lee Addison. Thanks for coming, Lee.
Welcome, thank you.
And boys, what did you think? It was a big weekend for rugby league, that's for sure.
Absolutely was, although I was stuck on the IRL sidelines all weekend.
That's true. So we've got the Diggers coming up this weekend. That's going to be big for Ipswich Rugby League.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Friday night's game in particular will be very tough against Gold Coast.
Yeah, it's a good way to kick off, isn't it? Well, before we get into it, now we get into the action with the Intrust Super Cup this weekend. We had the Ipswich Jets go and get a loss before their bye, unfortunately. It was a close game and a very high-scoring game. What did you guys think of the result there against the Mackay Cutters?
Oh, obviously it's disappointing for the guys. They had a pretty good record up there of late, but 2 points, you probably take more out of a loss like that than you would with a win in some circumstances. So they'll come back after the break a better side and cause some problems.
The Cutters were last on the table as well. I'm sure both Ben and Shane went into the game thinking that they were probably going to get a win there.
Oh, I don't think they would have been complacent. I think the competition, much like the NRL, is pretty close from top to bottom, and as soon as you start taking those teams down the bottom lightly, then that's when you can get your pants pulled down. So I think they would have prepared as they would have if they were playing Townsville or somebody like that.
Yeah, definitely. You think they'll use the week off now to try and bounce back? They've got 3 home games in a row as well after that.
They do, and look, they've taken the week off training, and obviously it's time for a freshen up, and I think the boys will come back, obviously, physically in better shape and mentally refreshed as well, so they'll be up for it, yeah.
Definitely.
They'll be fine.
Well, we've got the PNG Hunters got another win on the weekend as well, which puts them top of the table. They're doing quite well. Yeah,
they are. They're always thereabouts. I mean, they basically train as a full-time squad, right? So they spend a lot of time up there in camp and spend a lot of time together and put a lot of time into their footy. So obviously they're reaping the benefits of that, and they're all big boys. So I'm glad I don't play anymore.
Well, they've been rewarded with quite a number of players named in the PNG side for this weekend's Pacific Test as well. Good result for a good start to the season.
Yeah, it's great for those guys. I mean, they, like I said, they spend a lot of time and put a lot of time into their footy and then preparing week in, week out. So it's rewards, for a good season, and they'll be tough.
Definitely.
They'll be tough to beat.
Any surprises in the ladder at this point in the season for you guys? We've got the Townsville Blackhawks and PNG Hunters sitting quite comfortably at the top there with 7 wins each, and the Burleigh Bears not far off either.
Yeah, for mine, probably Burleigh to some extent, but I mean they've recruited fairly heavily, and they've got obviously a bit of a affiliation with the Titans there, which helps sort of strengthen their squad, but not really. I mean, it's early days, and that ladder will change significantly, and towards the back end of this year.
I think the next game for the Jets is the Burleigh Bears at home.
It is, yeah.
So that'll be a big test for them.
It will be. And look, they haven't got a great record against Burleigh over the last couple of seasons, but like I said before, they'll be up for this one, and I'm pretty confident they'll come away with the points.
Well, what about having 3 games in a row at home, Bomber? Do you think that'll help them get a bit of a roll on?
Well, home ground advantage these days is a big thing, so the crowd gets into it over at the reserve there, so obviously it's a big help. So I guarantee that everybody should get over there and cheer the Jets on. They need the fans there now after some losses there. So it's easy to walk away and say they're gone for the season, but they're not.
No.
There's too many class players in the side to
they'll be hoping to fire around September anyway, won't they? That's when it's really going to come into it.
Well, that's it's like a Melbourne Cup, isn't it? You don't sprint out of the blocks there. You don't win it in the first 100 metres there. It's a 3,200 metre race. So.
Well, they weren't dominating the comp last year either, were they? At this point in the
no.
year?
Well, you can also look at the Cowboys too. The Cowboys weren't going crash hot last year for the first 5 or 6 games, but they just built as the year went on, and like you said, it's September time that you need to be firing.
Well, on the weekend we had a number of interesting results in the IRL as well. Lee, you were there for the Norths and thank you. We had the Brothers and Norths game. Brothers and Norths both going down in the same week. So
Yeah.
that was a bit of a surprise.
There is something going on in the rugby league universe. The planets mustn't be aligned or something, because Jets are in a false position, I think, in the QRL ladder. I think they're a better side than the table shows. And Norths got absolutely trounced off Swifts at the weekend. That was a top of the table clash, and we all went there expecting it to be a nip and tuck affair, and it was 30-0 at half time, I think, to Swifts. And the same with Brothers and Goodner on Saturday. I thought Goodner were there for the taking with some injuries, and I think they were 24-0 up or 24-10 up at half time, something like that, and we were all sat there going, where's the contest that we all expected to see? So
at the Brothers' home ground as well.
At the Brothers' home ground. So there's something going on in the rugby league universe, I think, at the minute.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit surprising looking at the table as well. We've got Goodner on top on point differential. Swifts coming in there in second. Brothers is probably the surprise coming down there at 5th, I'd imagine. And West End, they've looked great in patches, but they're still yet to get a win, unfortunately.
Yeah, they were a bit behind against Fastfern on the weekend there, but they come back to 22 with a couple of minutes to go there, and depends on who you listen to, whether it was a controversial strip at the end there. If you listen to one coach, it was right, the other coach said it wasn't right, but you just got to play by the whistle there, and as you can see by the ladder there, it's a close competition. I'm sure any one of them 6 teams could win the competition. So, but good luck to Goodner and good luck to Swifts.
Yeah,
they're firing.
Laurie Campbell's done a pretty good job getting them into good shape for the season. He's had a pretty heavy pre-season from what I've heard as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably the hardest pre-season Goodner done there this season. Like normally Goodner's not a team that like to train, and the big boys don't like to train him, but. But obviously this year he's done something different there. He's come back from Swiss last year, and he's got him going forward. Like I said, he lost big Zach Lemberg, but they powered through the middle against Brothers on the weekend. So
well, they don't like size, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Well, I know talking to Laurie in the pre-season, he had both Ramon and Zach Lemberg doing an extra training session with the core group, and they had more than 30 players turning up on the extra day to train. So I think that's really paying off for them so far. You're seeing that on the ladder at the moment.
Yeah. Ramon on the weekend there, it was probably one of his better games that I've seen on the weekend. He had a bulldozing try from about 40 metres out. So.
Well, we'll talk about it in a bit. We'll just, after the break, we'll be discussing the Ipswich representative team and the salary cap scandal at the Parramatta Eels. All that and more on After the 80. Welcome back to After the 80. This week we had the Ipswich Diggers representative team named. What did you think? What were you thinking of the selections there, guys? We had quite a number of BRL players, and obviously as the head coach, that was part of your doing there.
Well, the selections are my fault, so blame me if it goes wrong, and if it goes well, which we're hoping it will. Praise the players. There's no doubt they've brought a new impetus to the whole Diggers concept. We had a tough year last year. I've been the Diggers coach. This is my 3rd season now. 2 years ago, we nearly took out the comp, the closest we've ever been. Last year, we went with the same model of practice and preparation, and we got damaged by the Gold Coast in particular. So we reviewed the whole thing, and And I think what's pleasing for me is the Ipswich Rugby League and the Ipswich Jets working very much in tandem and intertwined, and it's great for the city. And I can tell you one thing, that the boys are going to go hell for leather this weekend.
Definitely. Well, the BRL side has been going fantastic so far this season, haven't they?
Yeah.
Defending premiers, unbeaten for the season.
You know,
there's not much more you could be wanting from a team.
What's been a really interesting coaching challenge as well is trying to mesh the two together. So in the IRL, you've got a completely different brand of football that tends to be a little bit more north-south. Obviously, the Jets are renowned for playing football where you can basically run in any direction, kick the ball in any direction, do a somersault if you like, and it's fantastic. But what it has produced are players all through the club who can look up and play what they see, and that's basically what I coach anyway. So I'm hoping that it's the perfect time to get this group of players together.
Definitely. Well, I describe them as ad-lib football for sure for the Jets there.
Yeah.
But you've combined that with a bit of straight running from the IRL forwards as well. So hoping for that combination of both a bit of spark and a bit of straight running there.
Yeah, exactly. I think, a more conventional way of playing football is to go sideways, you need to go forward first. I mean, Jets broke all those protocols last year and did it very well. But obviously this year they're having some problems with that because they're not getting the results. But there's so many good things about what they do. And I want to incorporate that into what we're doing. I'm not going to, change everything that the Jets do well. I'd be foolish to. So, we'll be playing some football, that's for sure.
Excellent. And on top of the Open Diggers side, we've also got the under-20s competition as well. Quite a few star players coming in there for the Ipswich side.
Yeah, we've had a couple of guys that have been training with us since late last year that have been selected in the under-20s there, which is great. And I think it's great for those guys in the 20s and the BRL to represent their city and get the opportunity to play with our IRL clubs and those players. And like Lee said, it's going to be interesting to see how they do blend two styles in, because obviously our philosophies over at the Jets are a little bit different to some other clubs.
All of the clubs, really.
All of the clubs. There's some trying to copy the mould now, but it'll be interesting, and they'll make a great account for themselves, especially those guys that like Chris Ash, as an example, has had Queensland Cup experience this year, and he gets to go back and impart some of the things that he's learnt with those other guys, and I think it's great for football in Ipswich all round.
Yep. Well, one club you probably wouldn't want to be emulating at the moment is the Parramatta Eels. They've been hit by a fair bit of controversy, and we've got one of their biggest supporters on the panel with us today in Anthony Bomber Breeze. They've lost 12 competition points and fined $1 million. And they're still over the salary cap for the rest of the year at the moment. So big questions around where the Parramatta Eels go from here.
Yes, there is big problems there, but hopefully we can get over them. So,
well, I think we've got some footage from the press conference with Todd Greenberg. So let's take a look and see what he had to say.
Over the last 2 months, the Integrity Unit has undertaken the biggest investigation in its relatively short history into the salary cap operations at the Parramatta Club. It's obtained more than 700,000 documents and interviewed board members, football staff, club officials, former officials, and a range of relevant parties. Regrettably, the results at this stage are not only disappointing, they're a stain on our game. The preliminary findings suggest the operation of a deliberate, coordinated, and sustained system of salary cap cheating by the club. And based on the information we currently have, we believe the system was conducted with the knowledge and support of the club's board and senior executive. In short, the preliminary findings point to the operation of a range of strategies since as early as 2013 to get around the salary cap to give the club an advantage over its competitors.
And that footage is courtesy of the NRL. Lee, what did you think? Was it a harsh punishment, or were you surprised by it?
Not surprised. What I was surprised about, the big thing for me, if they've broken the salary cap so badly over the last 5 years, why haven't they won a few premierships? And why haven't they been in the top 8 at least? They've been so poor on the field for a long time now, Parramatta. And that was the big thing that I took away from that. The punishment, it seems that the NRL make you guilty before you've proven you're innocent, which is an interesting concept, and it'd be interesting to see what Parramatta do come back with. But as it stands and the information we've got, being fair play.
Yeah. As a Parramatta fan, did you was your reaction to be angry at the NRL or angry at the club for putting your club in that position?
Well, I think all Parramatta fans are obviously not happy. They're angry. Some probably directed to the wrong people. The NRL, they're not to blame. We were over the salary cap, our front office. So our front office buggered it up. But unfortunately, they buggered it up. They don't get as much of the blame there. The players now, they suffer. The fans suffer, and all that. This year was going to be a good year for the Eels.
It was starting off in a great
right there
fashion.
with Kieran Foran and Corey Norman on fire and Sammy and all that there. It was going to be a semi-final year, and dare to believe that we could have been there on grand final day. But obviously, it's not completely over. 12 from 15 is obviously trending around now. Big ask, but
Very big ask.
But I watched Brad Arthur last night there. He told the players and the fans to be united still. It's not a lost cause, but...
I think Parramatta can take some solace from the way Melbourne responded to the way they lost their points in, was it 2011, 2012? They just came out like a house on fire the week later. So I think there's still hope for Parramatta, absolutely. And I think a good coach as Brad Arthur is, he's probably using it to his team's advantage right now.
Still playing for pride, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, there's plenty of pride at Parramatta, that's for sure.
Adam, with the still over the salary cap for the moment, they've got 10 days until their next game. Flash fire sale for all their players, or mass cuts across the board?
Well, for me, that's probably the most disappointing thing is the fact that there potentially could be players that suffer. I think I've read Anthony Watmow may have to retire. Semi Radraja's name's been mentioned this morning as well. So that to me would be the most disappointing thing. If players had to leave the club because of those infractions that have been made by the front office, that would be disappointing. What happens, we'll have to wait and see. But I believe they'll probably develop a bit of a siege mentality over the next couple of months, and I wouldn't like to be playing them.
No, definitely not.
No.
Well, one of those players that's been named in the Australian representative side is Semi Radradra, who's he's gotten a lot of interest over the last couple of weeks, not just for this salary cap scandal, but for his selection in general. What are you guys expecting out of the Australian performance this weekend? They've had a few tough tests against New Zealand.
I was at the Anzac test last year with my dad. And my dad said, I think I want to put money on New Zealand. I said, don't. They never win the Anzac test, and they did. So you're not getting a prediction out of me. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to try.
Well, they've lost a few players there with from the Warriors there. And they've had their own scandal across the board.
There's plenty of players the Jets can sign now. I mean, the Warriors have cut 6, and Parramatta are going to have a few spare. Maybe we can get them to North Ipswich Reserve.
They
might need to take a small pay cut.
Well, we've got some footage of the Australian camp from during the week. It looks like Semi fits pretty well into a green and gold jersey, from my mind.
Yeah. I watched an interview with him there. He was learning the national anthem there. I don't know whether he was getting the words right, but he was trying.
It's a smaller world now too. People do move around different countries. I mean, I'm sure you can tell by my accent I wasn't born in Ipswich. You know, it is a smaller world, and I think the sporting world has to adapt to that. And people like Semi Radradra do go overseas to seek better opportunities.
From his reports during the week as well, it seems that he's taken a fair bit of pride out of getting named in the Australian jersey. For him, it's not about the money; it's about it's about representing the country that he's now adopted.
Absolutely, and like I say, it's just more of a common thing now. People do adopt new countries. It's a lot easier to do than it was 20, 30 years ago. I think we've just got to change the way that we look at it, to be honest.
Excellent. Well, it will be an interesting test. We've got Blake Ferguson was another interesting selection there. What did you think of that one?
Look, always with a test selection, there's probably a few different combinations that you can make an argument for. The Roosters haven't been travelling well, but I think he's probably shown us over the last couple of years that he's not out of place in representative sides, and like I said, with an Australian side you can make an argument for a number of different players in a number of different positions. So
Australia could pick 5 sides, 4 sides, 5 sides. In a bad year they can pick 3 sides.
Yep.
They are that strong. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, effectively England had their best chance of winning a game in Melbourne in a Four Nations, and it was effectively an Australian third side, and we still lost. So it's a very strong country.
Only time will tell. Well, coming up after the break, we'll be discussing all of the representative rugby this weekend. All that and more on After the 80. Welcome back to After the 80, and we've got a lot of representative games this weekend, but the one closest to home is probably the Queensland residents taking on the New South Wales residents. And Adam, we've got a Ipswich Jet in the team for the Queensland side.
Yeah, Namani, the Fijian Ferrari, got the call up. Thoroughly deserved. I mean, he's been a great campaigner for a couple of years now, and
stunning form this season as well.
He has been, and he'll do a great job for him against New South Wales. And a guy like Josh Siege can probably count himself a little bit unlucky, injuring himself the week before selection, and I think he would have been another one that would have been in contention as well. But certainly Namani will do a great job.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And what are you expecting out of the match as well? Do you think Queensland's going to continue their run?
I believe so. I think with the last 3 years, Queensland winning the residents game and also the 2 NRL state championships over the last couple of years, the Intrust Super Cups, I think, is probably streaked ahead of the New South Wales competition, and I don't see that changing this year. I think Queensland, on paper, still have a better side.
Do you think those results are showing the difference in the quality of competition there?
I think so, and I think the QRL invest more time into the competition. You get the sense that the New South Wales competition's just there to, I guess, play second fiddle to the NRL a little bit, whereas the QRL is a competition that stands on its own and produces a lot of great players.
Well, it's sure to be a good match, that's for sure. And we've also got a number of tests with the Pacific Islands as well. Lee, you work with quite a few students at Ipswich State High from varied backgrounds as well.
Yeah.
How much do you think it means to a player to get selected for your Pacific Island test?
Absolutely everything, to be quite frank with you. The pride in the Samoan and Tongan nations is something I've never encountered before. And one thing I can guarantee from being in camps with these boys at school is they will have fun. You just put them in a room, they will have fun in that camp, and it's the right kind of fun. You know, they'll sing, they'll dance, they'll create anything. It's massive, absolutely massive. I was overseas with a few years ago at the World Cup, and we bumped into the Samoan boys there too when I was with the USA, and they just bring so much with them beyond football as well. Yeah, absolutely. And the gentleman off the field as a rule too. So
excellent. Well, I talked to Brisbane Broncos Joe Alfangawi, who's with the Tongan team this week, and he sounds like he's having a blast already.
He'll be jumping out of his skin, and those games are brutal. There should be 10 ambulances on the sideline waiting because they are brutal. They're fair, they're clean, but they just hit each other with so much force.
We've also got Rod Griffin in there with the Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, Rod here. Big season last year there. Regan got his call up down with the West Tigers with the NRL. He's obviously performing down there to get picked. So, like I said, they're big boys. They go out there, they play with passion, they hit hard, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of bruises come Monday. So I'm glad it's them playing them and not me out there, because
that's it, yeah.
Brutal.
Well, big signs, and it'd be interesting to see what pre-game dances they pull out as well. I was watching a few last night on YouTube. There's some interesting combinations there. Yeah,
there's all different type of hakas these days. The Kiwis have theirs, and now Samoa and Tonga and different one. They have their different war dances now. They're always a great spectacle, and obviously just pride again. They just love their nation, don't they?
It's only a matter of time before Australia pulls out its own war dance?
Or? Oh, well, we had one back in the 1950s or something. Now I've seen footage of Johnny Raper doing a...
Parramatta did a dance online last week. That was in the sheds. You actually showed it me at Brothers at the weekend.
Well, the running man dance there. I think the Eels started there, got over 1 million hits, and now... Everyone's doing it now, if you look on Facebook.
Yeah, I've seen a video of the New Zealand Police Department doing it yesterday, so it seems to have created a trend.
Yeah, no, it's...
I'm sure they would have liked to have continued the strong publicity into this week, unfortunately.
No, I think the reason why they probably got the Parramatta thing in there, so the budget was on there, so the budget's probably taken a little bit away from it now in the papers. So, But if you're sports minded, it's front and centre still. So.
Yeah. Now we've also got the City versus Country as well. I know it's not heavily favoured in the Queensland media at all, but what's your thoughts on whether or not it's still a viable game?
I think it's really struggling. I don't know what you think, boys, but again, we're talking about the changing landscapes in the world. I just think City Country. I know I'm not Australian by birth, but and I know I'm not city or country by birth in this country, but I don't know. It just the public perception of the game just seems to be slipping year on year.
Well, I think also Brad Fittler's come out now. The club sides don't want to release players now to the City Country there. So Brad Fittler's team, the City team, has got 10 debutants. Some of them aren't even really making their run on team at their own club, but they're in this team. So I think he's asked for it to either be scrapped or rejigged somehow to make it.
The country team still seems to, a bit like Queensland many years ago, really drove the origin concept. I think the country origin down there still driving that concept. I think it's really important for the bush areas of New South Wales. But I mean, I won't be tuning in, and I'm sure many of us won't be, and that tells its own story. Bomber will, he'd watch any game.
It's got to be hard when you put out a team list and then half that team that you put out, the coaches say no, I'm not releasing a player, or there's an injury that happens that's a hamstring strain for that same week that it's happening. That's got to be frustrating.
I don't think it can be considered a genuine selection game for the New South Wales side. I mean, after 9-10 rounds of NRL, I think Laurie Daly will have a fair idea of who's going to be playing in Origin 1. So, like Lee said, I think it's probably driven a little bit by the Country Rugby League and that City versus Country mentality. But as an NRL coach, I mean, it's it's just another game outside of your club footy where a guy can go and get hurt. And like I said, I don't think there's any genuine selection opportunities there for the guys. So it's not a big fan.
Yep. Well, there's a plenty of rugby league games on this weekend. Is there any particular games you're keeping an eye on for your mind?
Ipswich Diggers versus Brisbane on Friday, and then Ipswich Diggers. Oh no, I got it wrong. Ipswich Diggers versus Gold Coast on Friday, and
Brisbane
Ipswich Diggers
Gold Coast
versus
on Saturday.
Yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on that one too. Yeah, that's all that matters in the Lee Addison Rugby League universe this weekend.
Excellent. Well, that's all we have time for this week. But thank you very much for my panellists. We have Adam, thanks for joining us from the Jets.
No worries, guys.
Bomber Breeze from the IRL, thank you very much. And Ipswich Diggers head coach Lee Addison.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. This is After the 80.